The EU tries to promote democracy across the world. The EU was founded on the principles of peace and cooperation in order to prevent war, and so the European Union has as one of its aims to promote these values which inspired its own creation elsewhere in the world. The European Union can do lots of different things. It has specific instruments which allow the European Union to fund directly civil society actors in countries outside Europe, which are designed to increase, for example, or help with the recognition of the rights of minorities. The European Union also has what we might see as negative measures at its disposal as well, such as sanctions or the threat of sanctions on third countries as a means of trying to reverse any sliding in terms of democratic development. Whether this is something that the EU should be doing or not is a matter of debate. You could say that as an actor which is not a state, the EU is obliged to share the values which inspired its own creation, and this is the wording reflected in the treaty. On the other hand, if you see the European Union as primarily as an economic actor, then it wouldn't play as much as a role in doing so. But the European Union does have a foreign policy, and the reason for this is because it's been put there in the treaty by the member states, including the UK.
I would like to highlight this question. Depends on my experience in Indonesia. So Indonesia has been undergone democratization processes in 1998, and since then the European Union, through the European Council, promotes democracy through giving grants and some particular projects to strengthen civil society and the democratization processes in Indonesia.
I'd say the EU definitely tries to promote democracy throughout the world. It certainly sets a high standard with a lot of countries. The EU as a bloc is quite varied, and there's differing standards across the country naturally, but I think that certainly as individual nations and as a bloc, it does try to promote democracy. I think that it's always going to be challenging to get everyone to engage if you've got, say, Eurosceptics or people who aren't that concerned, and even within local elections, it's often hard to get that kind of level of engagement. But I think that globally, that if you try and model something, that's always going to be helpful. You've got integrity and saying, look, we're trying to do this. This is how it can be done, and encouraging the world as a whole to become a more democratic place.
Well, ever since the European programme was set up, at about the same time, an agency called the Westminster Foundation for Democracy was also set up and works very closely with the EU programme. It doesn't require British membership as such. That programme would go on, and so would the European one. What I think is a pity, however, is that the enormous British input. I mean, I was the European Parliament spokesman on this programme and set it up in 1990 and was on the management committee for 10 years. And a lot of the people very committed to this programme are British people, including, for example, Nick Clegg, the Liberal Democrat leader's wife, Miriam, who is a lawyer, worked on the programme here in London at the Foreign Office. So there's lots of British involvement, which would be lost because there'd be no connection anymore. And that would be a great pity. But the programme itself will carry on, just without British input.
In terms of the UK, as a member state of the European Union, it contributes to democracy promotion efforts. But the European Union does not prevent the UK from having its own foreign policy. In reality, the interests very much coincide. For example, both the UK and the EU are opposed to the use of the death penalty in third countries worldwide.